Hi and welcome. I'm Elvira Boulet from the Dimitrov Boulet Piano Duo, and today I want to talk to you about some exercises that can help you strengthen the fourth and the fifth finger. Strengthening the fourth and the fifth finger is actually pretty important. Naturally, they're not as strong as our other three fingers, and this can really hold you back in, for example, in basic technique things like, for example, scales, arpeggios. So it is something that is really important. Sometimes you would also have very specific passages in which you really need to, for example, do a trill with your fourth and fifth finger. And of course, if you haven't been exercising them, they're probably not doing what you want them to do. So I have a few exercises for you, and I have a little bit of a general advice as well. So let's get started with the exercises. Now for today's exercises, I've actually chosen Hanon. I really like Hanon because I have very few time. And Hanon is very straight to the point. It is extremely easy to learn. It is very often just one bar that repeats over and over, which some people would call boring, but I would call it just really useful because I don't have to practice very hard to get to know the notes right, and I'm directly practicing my technique. If that sounds good to you, just keep on watching. I'm going to give you 2 exercises from the Hanon. I'm going to give you 3 exercises from the Hanon. So let's start with number 27. The first part of the Hanon book is actually just finger exercises, and there's some very specific finger exercises, and you guessed it, there's also finger exercises specifically designed to strengthen those fourth and fifth fingers. So I'm going to start here with number 27, which prepares the fourth and the fifth finger for the trill. So basically it is one bar. If you've never seen Hanon before, it's basically one bar that repeats a tone higher up to a certain point, and then you go back down. So all you have to do is learn 2 bars. You can, of course, you're very free to buy the book, but they're also available just for free online. I'll link those for you down if you want to give it a try. So let's get started. This is the exercise. I'll pop it up for you on the screen. So what you see is the same bar is repeated a tone higher, as you can probably hear. And we're first playing with the third and the fourth, second and the third, and the first, 2, 3, 4, and then comes the 5, 4. So we actually repeat this fifth and the fourth finger 3 times. 1, 2, 3, and then we go down. So this is a really useful exercise because rest is a really important part of technique. So if you only start doing this, that's really not, it's going to hurt your technique more than it's going to help you improve, because what you really need to teach, first of all, your fingers, is that you need to teach them to do it in as relaxed as possible way. So playing piano completely relaxed obviously is not possible. We have a tiny bit of tension, otherwise our fingers don't move, right? But we do want to teach ourselves to play as relaxed as possible. Even if it's with the fifth and the fourth finger, we have to really avoid building up tension. So if you do an exercise where there's only fifth and fourth finger and you're not used to, then that would be really harmful for your technique. So this is what is really good about this exercise, just so you know the background of it. It is really important to have that break. So for those of you who have been following along, you're probably thinking like, but this only trains the right hand, right? And, well, what about the left hand? Well, that is why we have to learn actually 2 bars. We have to go to a certain point, then we're going back. And on the way back, we're going to train the left hand's fifth and fourth finger. So actually, let's see where we reach that point. So here is the bar. When you reach this bar, you're going to go backwards, and you are going to train that left hand. So now it's the left hand that does 5, 4, 3 times before moving on to the next fingers. So first of all, this is a great exercise to try, and second of all, remember that in any exercise that you do for 5, 4, to train your fifth and your fourth finger, there should be also rest. Okay, so there is another exercise that you can do, and I'll very quickly play it, but then I want to move on to something else. So this is something very similar. This is a trill alternating between 1, 2 and 5, 4. So that's again giving you a little break, and this time it just trains left and right hand immediately. So first you trill with the left hand 5, 4, and then you train with the trill with the right hand 5, 4. So that's really nice. It alternates immediately, and it gives you again that short little break that you need. Etc. Okay, so these are definitely 2 exercises that you can do, and that will really help you start that journey of strengthening that fourth and the fifth finger. Now, where it gets really more interesting is when this starts to be a bit easier, and you're like, "Pooh, that's kind of easy." let's then start to make it more difficult. Then we start to transpose. So what I showed you now was in the key of C major. Of course, we very often don't play in C major, and that's where the real difficulty comes, because as soon as you play in different tonalities, you're alternating between black and white keys is where the technique gets really challenging. Especially, of course, with the fourth and the fifth fingers. So now we can try to do this exercise 27. We can try to transpose it and do it in, well, let's do it one step higher, would mean D major, right? So instead of starting on the E, which is the third tone in C major, we're going to start on the F sharp, which is the third tone in D major. Etc. Now, if that went a little bit too fast for you, don't worry. We actually did a video on transposing the Hanon exercises, and I'll link that for you at the end of this video. Okay, so now let's look at our final exercise, which I like actually a lot. I think it is in part 2 of this book. Part 2 is some general techniques. Let me see. No, it's actually, I said that wrong. It's in part 3 of the Hanon, which is actually about virtuoso techniques. So this will turn you into a real virtuoso. Unlike the finger exercises, they're not one bar, but still they're extremely easy to learn. Just very simple kind of etude. Not to play though, obviously, I mean just to learn. So you will not be learning a lot of notes, just the technique itself, of course, is difficult and it's gonna need practice. So the idea of this exercise is that you trill on all fingers. So we're gonna start, I'm just gonna start in this part. And what is the idea is that you move your trill up without hearing it. So you're gonna start trilling on 1 and 2, and in the left hand, of course, 5, 4. And then you move on to 3, 2 and 3, 4. 3, 4 and 3, 2. And now you reach the 5, 4 with the right hand. So I'm not gonna talk through it now, I'm just gonna play it. And I'm going to just read along to see what I'm doing. Part where I transitioned. What I like about this exercise is it gives actually a metronome marking, an indication to how fast you do it. What I like about this exercise is that it's not crazy fast. So this is really about kind of being in control of your fingers and listening to if your fingers are even, which generally is something that will give you a really great technique if you listen very well to what you're doing, if you listen to if you're even or not. Now, if you watch this video and you're like, okay, Elvira, but now I want to exercise the fourth and the fifth finger with something melodic, because please, I'm dying of boredom, leave me a comment below and I'll see what I can find for you. In the meantime, just practice this already so that you can get to strengthening those fourth and fifth fingers. Thank you so much for watching. This was it for today. Let us know if this helped. Consider to join the channel, subscribe, like, these kinds of things. Don't forget to check out Dimitar's music. We are right now editing a new piece. It's coming out very soon, so definitely check that out. As always, if you have any questions about this topic or any other topic, feel free to ask. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.